So this is Orbitdoc, a PDF reader that allows you to write and annotate on a document and share it with students so they can write and annotate on the document. So in your Google Drive, right, let's find a PDF that you already have saved somewhere. Maybe you made it, maybe you downloaded it from Teachers Pay Teachers, who knows. Three ways you can access this Orbitdoc. Right-click or two-finger click on your Chromebook, go to Open With and select Orbitdoc. Also, if you just open up a PDF, you'll see an Open with Orbitdoc button on the left-hand side. You can click that. And if you already have it set up in your Google Drive to use Orbitdoc as your default program, when you double-click on a PDF, it will just open automatically in Orbitdoc like it does right here. So this is what the PDF looks like in Orbitdoc. I'm just zooming in a little bit on it here. So at the top is a toolbar that if you've ever used the Read and Write toolbar from the same company, it looks very familiar. I'll talk a little bit more about these options as we get to them here, but lots of options you can do with this PDF. So here I'm highlighting some text and we're going to listen.
Find the missing numbers.
Actually says the word out loud for you. Look it up in a dictionary.
Missing. Adjective. If something or someone is missing, it cannot be found. He went
You
missing
can even
for a few hours.
look up the word in a picture dictionary, right, to give you an icon or an image that helps explain what the word means. So we have the two kinds of dictionaries. There's a screen reader for reading text that are in images, translate, collect a vocab list, create a screen mask for concentration, highlight text to then collect in a separate notes document if you want to, create shapes, freehand draw or write, erase what you've written, insert a text box, and create a push pin notes, a little annotation that can be hidden or popped out as needed. So here I'm going to do a little freehand drawing. I've clicked on the pen icon, selected a color, and now I'm going to do some circling here, right? As I'm assigning this math worksheet for my students, right? I'm picking the color that I want. I'm going to go with purple, and I'm going to circle the numbers that I want my students to work on, right? I'm annotating this PDF with a little freehand drawing that the students will then be able to see on their version, right? So here I am circling the numbers that I want the students to work on. You can even adjust the size of something that you've drawn. Notice right when you select on it, there's some a little box that you can resize with if you want to. Now I'm going to go up top and I'm going to add a text box, right, where I'm going to have the kids write their name. And so I can click on the T for text box, click on the page, start typing in. I can change the font size and the font color. If I want to get rid of what I've written, there's a little trash can icon to trash it. I can change the size of the text box, right? So everything fits on one line if I want it to, right? Change the color to something different. And I can even move it around the screen to make sure the text goes exactly where I want it to. Drawing a little arrow with freehand toolbar just to remind everybody, this is where I want you to write your name. Now I'm ready to share my annotations with my students, right? So I'm going to click that little arrow, click share with my students, and it's going to prepare the document that it can now be shared, right? The document's now ready to be shared. In that little box in the top right-hand corner, you can connect your PDF from Orbitdoc to your Google Classroom and create a new Google Classroom assignment right from your PDF. So now that I've prepared the document to share with my students, I'm now going to put that document as part of an assignment in a Google Classroom, right? So when I click on that box, a pop-up appears. I choose which classroom. I'm going to create the assignment. I might have to resize the box a little bit depending on how much detail I need to type in. But now I'm creating an assignment, right? Giving my students instructions. And since each student's going to be writing on their own document, I want to make sure that that PDF that I just am sharing from my Orbitdoc, I want to change that so instead of it being students can only view the file because I want them to actually work on it, I'm going to change it that every student's going to get a copy, right? So it's going to change it to make a copy for each student. And the annotations that I wrote in and the numbers that I circled and everything will show up on every student's document. Right, so we're going to make a copy for each student. And let's assign it. Right? So now we're going to look at the student view. So student opens up the assignment that you just shared, multiplication practice. They're going to open up their work, right? The PDF you just shared with them that you annotated and circled and everything, right? It's going to open up. It might just take an extra second to load your annotations, but there they are. There's the place to write the name, the arrow pointing to it. Now the student's going to click on the freehand draw and write his name right where it says write your name. And they're going to go down through and they're just going to freehand draw. Remember, they all have touch screens, so they're just writing right on the screen, right, with their fingers or a stylus. And they can write their answers right in the blanks. If instead of freehand drawing, they want to type the answers in instead, then they can just insert a text box instead. Type in the answer, right? Change the font color or size or whatever it is to best fit the space. Move it to exactly where they want it to go. And the student has put in a typed in answer as well. When it's done, they can click the Turn It In button in the upper right-hand corner. Right? Takes them back to their Google Classroom page where they can click Turn It In. And now, back to the teacher view. You're now going to open up that student's assignment. And now, there's the student's work along with the annotations I had. Right? I can now continue writing on this document, right, and mark things correct. And once I've written my annotations and corrections or notes to my student, then I can just return that document to them. And now in the student view, the student will be able to see the new annotations that I just put on the document, showing what problems they got correct. Pretty neat. So that's Orbitdoc. It turns a regular static PDF into a document that both you and your students can be interactive with, can draw on, write on, annotate with, and share back and forth just to get the most out of those PDF documents.